Welcome back to another episode of Tips and Tricks with your favorite instructor, Instructor Shelton. Today, I have the wonderful and awesome Mr. James Possible. How are you doing, James?
Hey, Danielle, I'm doing great. Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Yes, I was on your podcast, and now that I have my own, I'm super excited to get to have you on mine. It's like, yay, I've arrived.
Yeah, well, I enjoy your bite-sized thoughts that you have been sharing. I love them. They're great.
All right, so James, tell us who you are. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, just a little bit about myself. Well, I'm a geek by trade. In my early life, I guess. It was actually, I took a full circle in money. So it was actually stocks that got me into computers. And then from there, it was computers that became my life. And now I'm back into money and wealth and guiding people in those realms, because we don't at least in the conversation, the majority of the conversations I've had, it's so rare to have conversations about money, let alone wealth, when it comes to families. And it's, to me, it's always been something like sex. You know how sex is always so taboo. Money
Right.
almost has that same quality to it. In fact, it's even worse because there's shame. There seems to be a shame attached to money.
Yes.
That actually it causes you to be you shut down. You don't think about it. You don't want to think about it. You don't want to have the conversations because that's a lens that when you look at yourself in that light and you're not where you want to be, it just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good at all. And nobody likes the 9 to 5.
No.
I mean, it's, nobody likes that when they don't feel like they have a choice. And that's a challenge. That's really a challenge. I don't know that life was really designed to be like this, but hey, this is where we are. But I really believe with a little education, a little financial intelligence, and that we can start to turn that tide. And I think it's really important.
Yeah, and you know what? You touched on something, and I totally agree with you that people, when it comes to money, they are like, "Don't talk about that." Don't.
Right.
And you know what? It is taboo, but it's also very this thing it's very hidden. Not a lot of people will share their knowledge of how to get it, how to have it, how to maintain it. A lot of people, when they figure out a system that works for them, instead of them like spreading the knowledge and helping other people, they're like, I have the secret and I'm going to hold on to it. And they don't share.
Yeah.
They don't let people know. So that leads me into, what tips and tricks do you have for us today?
Well, we discussed maybe having a couple discussions about this, but
Yes.
Because it is a big topic, right? Wealth to me, it's about working economically, available legacy targeted holdings.
Mm-hmm.
And so what does that mean? It's basically understanding that, and wealth, the challenge with wealth is it's almost a trite term. It's overused, and it's used in literally so many different ways. Like, and so it's really hard to nail it down sometimes. But when I'm speaking of wealth, I'm speaking of money, and so we go from money to wealth, and that accumulation of wealth is the first thing, and it's the most boring thing, but it's creating that foundation of wealth. And what does that even mean? You know, you can't get to generational wealth without understanding how to build a foundation, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And that's, I guess we'll talk about that just a little bit. And some of it will be interesting maybe, and some will be, people say, oh, I've heard that before, but it's, the reality is, it's like the Olympic athlete. What do they do different than the average athlete? Well,
Right.
they're on the, I was a track person, so they're on the track every day. They're on the track every day. They're doing the workouts, and
they're running while people are sleeping.
Yeah. And that's really what this is about. There is no time in your life, if you have money flowing through your life, regardless of the size of it, that you're not managing money. Does that make sense?
That's a very good point.
Yeah. Now, you may not like the outcome of the managing of your money, but you have to understand that if you don't take responsibility for how you're managing your money, then you're never going to get to a place where you can actually begin to take charge of it beyond the management of the money. Yeah. So it's a big thing, because one of the things I hear a lot is, well, I don't have any money to manage. Well, yeah, you do, because you're spending it. And it's not even about, I'm not even going to talk about if you're spending it in ways that don't make sense. It's just you are managing it, and you have to understand that you're managing it.
You know what? Let me jump in right here, because there are so many people who feel like in order to manage money, they have to have this lump sum amount, and they don't take into account that the little bits, what you're spending when you go out to eat, what you're spending when you're getting your nails done, what you're spending when you're getting your face done, what you're spending on hair, what you're spending on shoes, like that is essentially how you're choosing to manage your funds. And it's not to say you can't treat yourself, but we live in society, a very, what is it? YOLO, you only live once, so let me spend all of my money right now kind of society. But then when you wake up tomorrow and you've lived more than that day.
Wait a second, I have another day? Oh no. Yes, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then you were like, oh shoot, maybe I shouldn't have spent that money. So
exactly.
So I think it's important for everybody. That is such a good nugget. You are managing money every single day when you are spending your money.
Yeah, if it's flowing through your, and if it's flowing, and the challenge is a lot of people today, because of the way the systems worked us towards this automatic, we get paid by deposits, we don't touch our money. I'm going to suggest that it's important that you do touch money, that you do spend cash, because then you start to actually have a relationship with your money. And because it's very detached, when all it does is go directly into the bank account, and then you're swiping your debit card, or paying, writing a check, or you have your auto drafts going through where you're paying certain bills and utilities and stuff. So if you're not ever actually experiencing money, it's really hard to have a relationship with the money that's actually flowing through your life.
Nice.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes lots of sense. That makes what you're saying right now is so simple, but so profound, because we don't think of money as something, we've made money very complex. And I don't think it's as complex as people have made it. We just made it complex, and we've made making it a secret.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. like there's so many ways you can talk about money. And we're talking about how people don't talk about it. And then unfortunately, when you go to it's extremes with money, because either people aren't talking about it, or the people who are talking about it, they're all about the glitz and the bling, and the big cars, the big house, or they're talking about putting everything into one bet. And because that's either you go you go big or you go home. And
Go
it's
big
like,
or go home.
yeah. And it's like, okay, really? Let's be really clear about that. That is not how wealth is built.
Right.
Wealth is something that accumulates and builds and grows over time. And there are avenues to generate consistent interest.
Yes.
That is above the rate of inflation and things like that. So you can literally have money begin to work for you and keep it working for you. Real estate is an avenue, but it's not the only. When we get into the discussion of money, it's always about profit or income, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we never talk about, okay, so what do we do with the profit and the income, right? What do we do with that money once we actually have it? And that's where the discussion of wealth actually begins.
Mm-hmm. You know what? Let me say this. I am very annoyed, and I don't know, it might just be I'm uptight. I'm very annoyed with the social media thing that happens where you'll have some person that'll come on and be like, was homeless living in my car, decided to make beads, millionaire. Like nobody says, like the process that takes place, and nobody says how it, like nobody actually talks about the process. Everybody's just like, oh, I didn't have anything, I gave a speech, now I have everything and everything's okay. It's this very kind of, what's the process? And that's I guess that would be my question.
Well, it's not just the process. It's not just the process, right? It's also, okay, where's the truth of everything? Because
I hope you've enjoyed Money Matters. This has been Tips and Tricks. This is our placeholder. Tune in for the next episode with James Possible.